What's going on, everybody? Glad you're here. You are listening to the Genuine Leadership Shift. I'm Austin James Crawford. We're just here to create a space to talk about some real leadership, hard truths, and the work it takes to do the right thing and be a great person. Let's get into it.
And today, before we get into this episode, I just want to ask you something. What are the small things in your leadership and in your life that you've let or you've started to let slide? Not maybe because you don't care, but because you're busy, because you're stretched, maybe because you're tired, or maybe because you have convinced yourself that they don't really matter. Today, we're talking about those little things and how they're actually not little. We're going to talk about why consistency beats intensity and why standards, when they're done right, aren't about control. They're about care. This episode is going to be about delivering +1, hospitality as a mindset, and the quiet little disciplines that I think separate people who talk about excellence from the people who actually live in it. It's going to be great. Let's get into it. All right. Welcome to the Genuine Leadership Shift. If you are here for the very first time, I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for clicking and figuring out or trying to find out what this is all about. Please thank whoever shared this with you. And if you stumbled upon this on your own, I'm just glad that you're here. My name is Austin James Crawford. I am a hospitality leader, a coach, a husband, a father, and most days I'm actually just somebody trying to do the work of leading well without pretending that I've got it all figured out. And if you've been sticking around since episode 1 through this season that we're unfolding, I just want to say thank you. Thank you so very much. I truly appreciate your support. This season 1 so far hasn't really been about performance. I think it's really about understanding our foundation in leadership. I believe that it's a little bit more about the inner work that we do, building and recognizing your identity, strengthening some integrity, focusing on presence, your pace, and ultimately your discipline. And then it's learning how to lead in a way that I think is just a little bit more grounded, a little bit more human, and maybe a little bit more responsible. I don't by any means come into any of these conversations as somebody who has mastered any of it or all of it. I actually come in as somebody who is living in it, somebody who has messed it up many times, who's still messing it up, and just trying to learn from it and practicing it every single day. So I appreciate you being along for the ride, no matter when you're joining in or jumping on board. But today's episode is one that I truly have wanted to share, I think, since day one. And it's had its nuances through everything that we've already recorded. But it's one thing I think a lot of times we overlook. And as a leader, we underestimate it a little bit. And recently, I've just been kind of battling it and struggling with it. And I feel like sometimes that's where the inspiration comes from, to drive these talks and open up these scenarios, because leadership is not done on your own. Leadership is done by experience. Leadership is done by the team that is around you. Leadership is built on feedback, and leadership is honestly making mistakes and just pushing forward and figuring out, whoa, that was not the way to do it. Let's pivot, let's adjust. And so I just want to make sure that as we're building teams and you're out there building your team, there's a difference here, and it's the little things. Little things is the title of this episode, but really ultimately it's about delivering +1. It is about hospitality as a daily excellence. And that is something that will build teams that I think that you can be very, very proud of. This is not going to be a talk about the big speeches or those big pit stops that you have or those heroic moments that are so impactful. You're like, man, that nailed. But I think this is a little bit more about the small habits, the micro actions, focuses and tweaks on your presence and your tone, and ultimately the choices and the decisions that we all make when nobody is watching and nobody is judging you for that. That is who we are. And those little things is exactly what is a catalyst for growth. So episodes 1 through 4, I think, have really kind of helped us understand ourselves, understand our identities. We've talked about relationships, and understanding and recognizing your heart. And I hope that has resonated with you. But this one here, my hope is that this allows us to build that craft of leadership. So stick around. Let's get it unpacked here. All right. Unpacking it. Here's the truth. In hospitality, actually, for a matter of fact, probably in leadership anywhere, little things are the big things. And we've already talked about that. But I think we have to continue to bring this back around, because getting hung up on monumental impacts and big ticket wins are great. But how do you get those big wins? How do you get those great successes? It starts on your daily habit. It starts where you start, and that's with the little things. These little things are probably not things that any guest is going to applaud, right? No Yelp or review is going to even mention. And honestly, no manager on my team is going to be handing out medals for these little things. But they're the little things that our team feels every single day. Wiping down the expo counter before anybody ever asks you. Maybe resetting the room for the next shift. Running a water to the table or a drink to a table that isn't yours. Refilling a wash sink without being asked to. Recognizing that it needs to be changed. Checking out the processes and the work before we close the shift. Restocking to 100% rather than 88. Or be like, I'm here early tomorrow, I'll do it then. Doing the prep that makes tomorrow easier. Maybe it's showing up a little bit early to be mentally prepared, mentally centered. Or maybe it's just giving someone a moment of dignity on a hard frickin' day. And what's wild about this is, like, leaders want greatness. Teams want greatness. And everybody says that they want excellence. But the people who actually achieve it, they do it through those little small consistent actions, right? High standards culture are built on the unsexy stuff. It's the reps that nobody sees. It's the work behind closed doors. It's the work on yourself. And that's exactly what the Genuine Leadership Playbook, Tactic 11, talks about. It's the little things that matter, right? Because the little things are the scoreboard of your integrity, right? Yeah. And let's be real just for a second here, because when the little things slip, everything slips. The cost of ignoring the details, right? It's real. And if you want tension, I promise you can get it by starting to skip the small standards. And when we do that, just watch how fast tone changes, watch how fast resentment builds, and watch how quickly frustration will surface. Culture begins to erode just a little bit. And the why did they do that energy just manifests. In hospitality, details are the foundation. One missed polish or one little smudge and, you didn't care enough. You leave a dirty rag on the counter and, clearly they weren't present enough. A unstocked drawer now becomes, well, you left that for me. Or a sloppy plate that comes into the window and you don't respect me or the guest. You don't respect yourself. Now you've got an unaddressed behavior that, becomes they're tolerating inconsistency. The small things will always reveal the truth. It's not about ability. It's about the mindset. And that is why deliver +1 was never meant to be a guest-facing tactic. It was always intended to be an internal leadership and an internal tactic. Because if I am not delivering +1, how can I expect anybody else to deliver +1? Or I'm only going to deliver +1 when they deliver +1. No. Cancel all of that. Wipe that mentality out of your head and you eliminate the frustration by giving when you get. Just shut up, show up, and deliver +1. You know? And we can slow it down here just a little bit and we can talk about me for just a moment, because I will admit that there was a stretch in my early leadership, and even still clearly I struggle with today, thinking about all these big moves that make me the leader. The big saves, the big shifts, the big moments of just jumping in and being that hero, but I skipped on the small things. And that is then where the cracks begun to show, right? I'd leave a note, but then I wouldn't follow up. I'd walk past a small little mess, look at it, and, well, that's not mine. I'd arrive on time. I'd come into work, and maybe I was just a little bit mentally late, though, in showing up. I'd rush through a pit stop like it was just a formality. I would just send feedback without checking internally on my tone, right? I would speak about standards without actually embodying them. And that all leads to a really, really uncomfortable truth. And that is, people don't care how much I could do. They cared whether or not they could trust me to show up and be consistent. And consistency does not show up in the spotlight. It shows up in the little dark corners of our day and the little choices and the decisions to focus on the little things. It's in that moment, and this moment right here, that allows me to kind of recognize and realize that if I couldn't be trusted in myself to do the small things, then I couldn't be trusted to do the big ones. And leadership is setting an example. And so if you want something from your team, lay the foundation in how you think and how you act and how you focus on those little details. You want to talk about expectation, frustration, and I think these inner workings of this leadership. Let's slow it for just a sec and be honest. This right here is a part of the leadership that has been, you want to talk about hard to learn, and that I'm still learning. A lot of my frustrations over the years and as of recent hasn't come from the standards that we've set and we have put in place, because I believe in standards. I believe that standards protect people, and I believe that they are also designed to protect the guest, protect the team, protect our culture, and they ultimately will protect me or you as the leader also. But what's really, really, I think, been hard is learning how to hold those standards without letting a little bit of disappointment fester and turn into a place of resentment. There were seasons where I expected people to care about the little things the same way that I did. and to see the same little details and feel some sort of sense of urgency like I did, and to take the same amount of pride. And then when they didn't, I took it all personally, and I take it personally, and I felt frustrated, and I feel frustrated, and I was irritated. And sometimes even hurt. Like, why don't you see this? Why doesn't this matter to you? Why do I feel like I'm carrying this alone? But I think over time, I've had to recognize, and I've got to learn how to confront something that's a little bit uncomfortable about myself. And in thinking about these moments and reflecting on these moments, I wasn't truly frustrated with them. I was actually frustrated because I had built quiet expectations, maybe even unspoken expectations, and then I held those people accountable to a contract that they never, ever agreed to. That's on me. And I've had to learn here that not everyone who struggles with the little things, it doesn't make them lazy. Not everyone who misses the details lacks integrity. And not everyone who doesn't meet the bar is refusing it. Sometimes, guys, they're just not there yet. And that does not make them bad people. It does not diminish who they are. It simply just tells me where they are in their journey. And I have to respect that and appreciate that. Because one of the most grounding realizations that I have had this week and in my leadership is my standards. My standards do not have to or need to change, but my emotional attachment to how others meet them, that does. And when I expect people to operate at a level that they have not chosen, I'm setting myself up for a lot of disappointment. And when that disappointment lingers, that is what quickly and quietly turns into my frustration. And that frustration, no matter how justified it feels in the moment, is not what's going to keep building my culture, your culture, our culture. Frustration, stop justifying it. Lean into hospitality as a way of operating in your leadership. Not just in hospitality industries, but be hospitable and learn from this. Because hospitality taught me very, very powerfully that it's not forcing people to care. It's about creating the clarity and modeling the consistency and protecting the environment. And then allowing those people to decide how they want to show up inside of our culture, inside of that environment. I'm learning that I can't hold the standards without being angry, right? I have to learn that. I don't have to be angry because they haven't met them. I can correct without being cold. I can be clear without being sharp. And I don't have to get mad at people for being where they are. And I do not have to lower the bar, though, to make it easier to stand near me. That's not fair. Not everyone needs to be close to you or close to me to be treated with dignity. Okay? Not everyone needs to be aligned with me and you to even be respected. You can still provide that. But not everyone gets access to your influence, your proximity, or gains more responsibility. But that doesn't make you harsh for holding that dear and protected, right? That time with them, it makes you honest. And it makes sure that the little things are still mattering and that the standards are still clear. But my frustration does not move people forward. It will always move people backwards. So my responsibility here as a leader isn't to drag people across a finish line. My responsibility today and tomorrow is to be clear, to be consistent, to be present, and to protect the standards with the correct tone. And then, with a little bit of humility, allow people to show me who they are and where they are ready to go. So that's not giving up. That is a growing part of my leadership. And I appreciate you letting me rant on that. So how does it connect into hospitality? Well, I mean, like we've already talked about, right? Hospitality is the most detail-dependent leadership arena on this planet. You can't hide here, at least not for very long, because your team is going to know if you shortcut. The guests are going to know when you phone it in, right? Every single detail becomes a message. Standards are not harsh by any means. Standards are actually kind. They remove the guesswork. They protect dignity. And they tell people, you don't have to wonder how I'm going to win here in this culture, right? Every little detail screams things. It says, I care. I see this. I am here and I'm present and you can count on me. All of this matters. You matter. We matter. Hospitality is not going to reward the loudest of the leaders. But what it will do is it will reward the most consistent ones. The ones who are consistent on the little things. Yours and theirs. And not the giant expectations that you have not agreed to. Tying this in with the Genuine Leadership Playbook, I talk about this exact truth. The little things, or none of them are about perfection. Really, they're more about alignment. They're a little bit more about the alignment of who you say you are, how you show up, and what people actually experience. In the book Tactic 11, The Little Things That Matter, it exists because of three things. Little actions shape trust. Trust shapes your influence. And then your influence shapes the culture. No one is going to trust you because you're talented. They're going to trust you because you're consistent. They trust because your presence matches those principles. Let's dive into talking about the top things, right, that really build leadership influence. You know, the micro habits, if you will. I put together just this short little list of things that build leaders, and it's number one, being early enough to be present and not rushed, right? Because your energy is always going to set the room. Number two, right, resetting a space before you exit, right? Leaving things better than when you found them. That is a little detail that means so much to so many people that we forget. Three, checking in with your team before you check tasks, right? We got to check our people first, man, always. And this is very easy to forget because we get so in the moment, so habitual. Push the button, make the donuts, do the thing. Check in with your team first. 4, right? Protecting the standard even on the slow days. Right? Culture will collapse in quiet moments. And when you're too busy to hold that standard, that's when it becomes a problem. Right? Every moment, every day, every shift is like an opening, right? We talk a lot about that in this industry where, what if every single shift was just like a Valentine's Day? Or every little shift was just like New Year's Eve? Every one of the standards that you've worked towards that are applicable and in application during those monumental moments, those things also have to be present on a Monday afternoon. Number 5, you got to listen without preparing a defense. That is a little thing that is so valuable. This one alone can literally just change your entire leadership identity. This is one, again, you'll hear me say it a lot. Shut up and listen more. Don't need to defend. Just listen. Number 6, holding yourself accountable faster than anyone else, right? Because we're the model. We're not the exception. That's a big one. Number 7, do the invisible work. Do it without applause. Because these things that we're talking about, the little nuances, the little standards, leaving the room the way you found it, doing the work that needs to be done, stalking to 100%, right? That's the invisible work. A lot of times that's the baseline, right? Showing up, the bare minimum. No applause is given for those things, but you still got to do that. That is a little thing that means a lot. 8, communicate clearly, consistently, and always with a calm nature. Chaos does not require chaos from me, right? So communicate, be consistent, and be calm in the chaos. Number 9, service over status, right? We had this episode previously. You should check it out. It dives into it a little bit deeper, but when we focus on serving over our ego, and when you think that you are above the small things, you're no longer leading the way that you need to be. So serve, be a servant heart, a servant leader. And number 10, you got to follow through every single time. That is the foundation of trust, right? And trust is the currency that we use every single day in our connection building and our connection driven work. Follow through. These are the habits that build leaders. And none of those 10 things require any sort of talent. They just require a little bit of intention. So let's be intentional. Rewind this back and let's focus on those 10 elements. We want to talk about intentionality and how we make an impact on our people, the human impact, if you will. And I want to talk about a little bit just how the little things change the way that people feel about you. Now, recognizing this and putting it in application, right, are always two different things, but awareness is half of the battle. But recognizing that the little things change how these people, how your people feel about you. They're not going to remember the best shift that you've ever had. they're going to remember how consistent you were during it. People aren't going to remember how well and the biggest win that we've had, but they're going to remember whether or not they could count on us. 0 people out there are going to be remembering what your title was, but they are going to remember if you showed up with humility or not. You can give numerous amounts of large speeches. You can jump on podcasts and you can give the world knowledge. But ultimately, they're going to remember how you treated them when they were at their lowest. Leadership here is not about all of the big moments like we've talked. It's truly about being someone worth following in the small ones, the tiny moments on that Monday afternoon. So if you want to change your culture or strengthen your culture, continue with the small things. Focus on something meaningful. Find meaning maybe in those little things. And then just do something. Those little things are going to compound faster and faster the more consistent you are at doing them and upholding them. So let's get in there and do them, right? Let's do those little things. And here is my challenge for you this week. Just go pick one little thing. Not 10, not everything. One standard. One little habit. One small action that you maybe have been letting slide, and commit to protecting that. Maybe it's showing up 5 minutes early so that you're present instead of rushed. Maybe it's resetting a space before you leave it, tidying up the office before you leave. Maybe it's checking your tone before you give feedback. Maybe it's following through on something that you said that you would do. Trust and then verify. One little thing and go do it consistently. And alongside that, here's the second part of this challenge. And I think that this one here matters just as much. The next time you feel frustration rising when someone misses a detail, or they shortcut a standard, or they don't show up the way that you had hoped, stop and ask yourself this. Is this a standards issue or an expectations issue? And here's what I mean. If there's a clearly stated standard, something that's been communicated and modeled and agreed upon, and it's not being met, that's a standards issue. And the response isn't frustration. It needs to be clarity. It needs to be calm correction, and then consistent follow-up and follow-through. But if you're frustrated because you expected someone to care the way that you care, to notice what you notice, or to move at your speed and pace, then that expectation that was never clearly stated or agreed to, that is an expectations issue. And that is your cue to release the unspoken contract, not to lower the bar, but to adjust your emotional attachment to it. And here's the connection between the two. Your one little thing is something that you can model consistently, regardless of how anyone else shows up. And your frustration reframe is learning to protect that standard without letting unmet expectations drain your energy or harden your tone. You don't have to lower the bar, but you do get to choose how much emotional weight you carry around it. So this week, I want you to just pick one little thing to own and one moment where you choose to be clear over being frustrated. Go do that consistently, and you won't just feel better as a leader. You'll actually become more steady, more clear, and a hell of a lot easier to follow. And as we wrap up here today, I want to bring this all the way back home. This episode wasn't really about details. It was about responsibility. Your responsibility for the environment that you create, your responsibility for the standards that you protect, and your responsibility for the expectations that you place, both on others and on yourself. And the truth here is that most leaders, most frustrations do not come from having standards. It comes from the gap between what we expect and what others are actually ready to give. And learning to lead well does not mean lowering the bar. It does mean that you hold it, but you hold it with some clarity, you hold it consistently, and you hold it with the right framework and the right tone. The little things still matter. The standards still stand. But we don't lead them with frustration. We lead with presence, with example, with humility. And that's where your challenge comes back into play. Pick that one thing. Not all of them. Not everything. Just one. And protect it. Model it. And live in it. Not so people notice you, but so people feel safe in the clarity that you've created around you. And here's the quiet invitation that I'm just going to leave you with. Don't do this for yourself. Teach it by how you show up. Let people learn from your tone, from your consistency, and learn from how you hold the line without being an asshole. Because leadership, real leadership, is not about demanding that greatness happens. It's about modeling it in the small moments over and over and over again. That's how you're going to change and strengthen your culture. That's how you're going to build trust. And that is how hospitality leaves a space where it's just an industry and becomes a way of living your life. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Thank yourself for doing the work. And thank you for staying committed to the little things, even when they feel unseen. And if this work resonates with you, please make sure that you follow the show and you share it with someone you care about. And wherever you lead, whatever room you walk into next, remember, do the right thing and be a great person. We'll catch you next time. This has been been an episode of the Genuine Leadership Shift. If you found connection in this episode, we would appreciate a share. We would appreciate a follow along, and make sure you get this out to the people that you feel need to hear it too. We're looking to grow a community. We're looking to create presence. And honestly, I'm just looking to learn and grow alongside with you. So give us a follow, give us a like, and let's build this together. Do the right thing and be a great person.